Let's talk some football. Trevor Lawrence talking about his contract. Listen, it's a story until it's not a story. It feels like it's a story that is going to have a conclusion before the start of the year.
Yep.
I don't think anything's changed, right? I mean, we all still feel the same way. We can revisit this a million different ways, but I mean, we can debate whether he deserves to, whether you can debate whether he should, how much he should get. We can debate all these different things. We debated the last couple of days about expectations and has he delivered and will he deliver. But the bottom line is, we feel like he's getting a deal before the start of the season, correct?
I would think so, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't imagine, but with what's being said and discussed, to me, this is one of the most open, big-time contracts that I can remember. Now, I wasn't there for the Burrow one and the Lamar one and the other stuff, but I will have noticed, and I wonder if you've noticed the same thing. I don't think every contract negotiation is contentious.
Okay.
But I also think there's always like a little bit of a feel of I'm building leverage in a contract negotiation, even from the player. It feels like, there's a little mystery, right? Or build the drama or whatever that might be. Because when you're the guy, at least as a player, your people are doing the job for you in terms of this negotiation.
Yeah.
So you don't want to give up too much in front of a microphone, right? So you're not going to say a lot about it. But I always feel like there's like, is this going to get done? Or is there a little more of this going on behind the scenes? What's wild to me, at least in the Trevor discussions, when Doug's talked about it, when Trevor's talked about it now multiple times, when Bulky's talked about it, I feel none of that.
Yeah.
I feel like this is like an in unison deal. And I wonder if some of that, Austen, is the makeup of where he's been at. He's not a two-time MVP going into these negotiations that has maybe every bit of possible leverage.
Sure.
He's a guy that they obviously believe in, and he believes he can be this guy for a long time.
Yeah.
But the resume, as we've discussed, is a little up and down at times. So is that why we don't feel any of that potential contention in this relationship, or is it just Trevor's makeup?
I think, so if I'm negotiating for Trevor Lawrence and I'm the agent, I'm not necessarily going to all the stats because the stats don't tell the story. What I would go to is the adversity he had to overcome in said years. He had to overcome the Urban Meyer stuff. He had to overcome an offensive line that was porous in the pass game. He had to overcome wide receivers being injured. He had to overcome injuries himself. Like, that's what I'm going with, right? Because, once again, if you go just based off stats alone, then people are going to throw the Gardner Minshew comparisons and people are going to throw all these other quarterbacks. So, well, they have similar stats. And from a national perspective, that's what people want to do. But you got to go to the bigger story of how did you get to those stats?
Yeah.
So to answer the question, like, listen, whether it's Trent Baalke, dealing with the situation, Doug Peterson, I mean, they know what good quarterback play is. They know what good leadership is. I think they know if a quarterback has it or not. Right now, Doug Peterson make an argument and say the whole Jalen Hurts saga. Should you have started Nate Sudfeld over Jalen Hurts? Probably not.
Yeah.
You probably could have kept rolling with Jalen Hurts, but maybe Jalen Hurts is now a better quarterback because of having to get on the bench a little bit. Who knows? But I think with Trevor Lawrence, it's got to be more of the expectations in the future as opposed to what you've accomplished in the past.
Yeah. So it'll be, I like, and I don't know, we read into a lot of this stuff, right? I'm just talking body language and comfort. And right now I feel a lot of comfort. The reason why I say this is like Evan Ingram's situation taught me a lot.
Sure.
Evan Ingram was a deal that, man, did he want to get it done, right? He loved being here. They loved having him. We thought it was going to get done. It had to be used to franchise tag, whether that was his agent, whether that was the Jags, whether the price tag, the different market for tight ends, which was last year different than maybe we even anticipated. That carried out a little bit deeper into the summer. And then when we talked to Evan this year at the Pro Bowl in Orlando, he even kind of hinted like, hey, man, that kind of like a little more, maybe this isn't going to happen than I ever thought it was going to. And I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he kind of got that feel from what he said. Like, there was a couple of times in there it was like, okay, this isn't a slam dunk. I don't feel any of that yet. I mean, I'm sure there's always that when you're talking about a huge number and where you're going to land. but it just feels very peaceful at
Yeah.
the moment. And that's my read on it, which, again, I don't know what the heck it means. I'm just telling you that's my read on the way these guys are reacting to it and talking about it. So let's get to Trevor talking about his contract situation and the latest from him. Obviously, he's not revealing all the details and anything else, but I think he continues to say one thing. He would love it to happen.
Yeah, obviously I'm aware of what's going on, but I try to keep my focus on doing my job out here. I have full belief that'll take care of itself, and that's not something that I need to worry about. That's why I pay people and hire people to do that for me. So that's not my job. But obviously I know what's going on. I'm aware of the situation. I think that's important too. But yeah, I try to keep all my focus and energy on being the best player I can be to help us win.
Is it important to you to get done before camp or before the season or at all? Do you have any timetable at all?
I mean, yeah, I think that would be ideal, just to put it behind us and keep moving and feel good about that going into training camp. But either way, like I've said before, I have the same job. So, I can't always control all those factors, but I have the same job to do either way. But yeah, I mean, I would, of course, that'd be ideal is to get it done, as soon as you can and kind of move forward.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's a minute long on what you're going to get out of Trevor's deal. Very similar to what he was talking about the last time he talked, which would have been in April. So we're talking about almost 2 months ago when he last talked to the media about it. And I thought he was very open in that session a couple months ago. So, I mean, a lot of it would be reiterating the same things. Again, my summary on this is, yeah, it's going to happen. I think it happens before camp. I don't know if I feel strongly that it happens before camp or the season. I'm not really sure which one, and I'll ask you about that in a moment.
Yep.
But I also just feel like this is a stride together to get to a deal. Like this is not a I got to win versus you got to win. This is a we got to win deal. And when you're talking about this kind of money, I don't think that's always a thing in sports. But maybe it was. Maybe it was in Joe Burrow's case. Maybe it was in Herbert's case. It's really hard until you're living it every day and talking about it every day like we do with Trevor to know. And this is such an historic deal. We don't have precedent for it here in Jacksonville. Yeah. So, I mean, even the Josh deal felt a little clunky at times because back in January, the whole soundbite of Trent Baalke, like, yeah, we haven't even talked to him yet.
Yeah, I mean, the optics feel better with this one than they did for Josh Allen. Yeah, because
of transparency.
Well, and keep in mind, like, Josh Allen was coming off of a monumental season where it's like, I mean, there was no debate about it. Do you pay him or not? Like, yeah, you have to pay him. Like, you have to compensate him for what he did on the field. So when the conversation was, well, I didn't hear from his people at all. Yeah, you're going to kind of raise an eyebrow a little bit and say, well, why haven't you? Like, this should be priority number one right now. Like, yeah, you have your draft stuff going on, the combine stuff, but like priority number one should have been signing Josh Allen.
Yeah, so I think it feels. I don't think that one was super contentious either. By the way, I think there were some guidelines for it. It would be interesting to see behind the scenes and how that went. And even the thing about this, I always say, is players don't even know.
Yeah.
Because this is really between their camps. I mean, Trevor said it. He pays people to do this. I feel like I pay people to do stuff too, but I still end up doing it. Maybe I should take Trevor's place.
Get him, Brent. Get him, Brent.
Just felt like an easy thing to say.
Yeah,
I like that flex. I like pay people to do it. Yeah. Which he does. I mean, that's why you have agents, right?
For sure.
All right. So the last part about this for me, again, I mean, we could sit here and talk about Trevor and spin our wheels on the contract. I think everybody knows what it is.
Yeah.
But does it matter if it gets done? Or is it? What's the significance, or what's the holdup of getting done before camp versus before the season? Let's just assume it gets done. The timing of it, does it matter to him? Does it matter to the team? Does it matter to the locker room? As long as it gets done, let's just say by Labor Day.
So, I mean, I think ideally from a team perspective, from Trevor Lawrence's side, they want to get it done before the season. They want to get it done, preferably during, I would say, like, before the preseason game starts, right? Because that way, okay, I'm paid, I'm the leader of this franchise, I'm the guy going forward, I'll be here for many years to come. Like, it almost like kind of takes a weight off your back a little bit, especially from the most important position in all of football. So if that's the dialogue that you're having, then yeah, you want to get him paid as soon as possible because you want to go into training camp. You want to go into the preseason games, and you obviously want to go into week one of the regular season knowing that, all right, Trevor got paid. He's our guy. Now let's go.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a strong feeling about it. That's why I asked you.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, from a play, like, I don't know. Is Josh Allen care? Do other people care? Is is Christian Kirk looking like our players looking like? I just don't. We're talking about July 24th versus September. I don't even know the date, but let's just throw out September 5th. Okay, I mean that's like a 6-week span. Does that matter when it comes? I don't know. I really don't know. I'm not sure if that's a locker room dynamic, a Trevor dynamic. Does it hang over your head a little bit? I don't sense that it will. I feel like because this is early anyway, it's not like we're up against the clock as long as it gets done. Now, if it doesn't get done by Labor Day, I start to wonder a little bit about the dynamic of this thing because you now know it won't get done most likely in the season. People don't do these deals in the season.
Not really, no. And even if you were like, so as a player, I mean, because this is what it's all about, Brent, right? It's about security. I mean, it's about a lot of things, but one of the biggest things is security because knock on wood, injuries can happen, right? So if you're a player and you're on the verge of a contract, you want that contract done as soon as possible because injuries can happen. Freak things can happen. Go ask Aaron Rodgers. Now, I'm not, saying that Trevor Lawrence is Aaron Rodgers, but like, we didn't foresee Aaron Rodgers running out in the field with a plague and playing 2 plays or 3 plays, whatever it was, and then being out for the year. Like, things can happen. So if I'm a player, I'm trying to get paid as soon as possible and not wait till halfway through the season, not wait till week 1, week 2, like as soon as possible.
Yeah, I think that part is very interesting to me. It's when it gets done. Okay, I'm not totally unclear. In fact, if I had to predict, I'm going to be gone for a lot of this month, and that's when it's going to get done. So,
yeah.
Like that's why it's going to get done when I'm probably not here. But I do wonder if there's significance. But really, the significant part is, and really this hits a different level, because there's so much transparency. This is where it could backfire. There's not just noise about it, the possibility of it, all this stuff. But if it doesn't get done by the start of the season, I'm not telling you that like ruins the relationship and all of a sudden this becomes high drama. I just do think it takes a little bit of a different tone because now it's like, hey, they couldn't get it done. And now you are carrying that. And I don't know how, listen, if you're carrying a lottery ticket, to your point, it's one thing to carry it for the next 2 months. It's another thing to carry it for another 8 months while you got guys trying to kill you in the pocket.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I mean, that, even from a comfort level for Trevor, like that part, I don't think he can even hide that. I don't think there's a subconscious there about that. If it doesn't get done by the start of the season now, because again, there's been so much, hey, this feels like it's going to happen. I mean, we all know this about life, right? If there's something that feels like it's going to happen and you're kind of almost into the point where you've planned it to happen and it doesn't, there's a major disappointment there.
Sure.
There's like this huge letdown. And that can be a variety of things, from getting paid to an event to whatever. And I don't think you can block that, even if it's Trevor. And by the way, at the tune of this kind of money. So that's to me where this thing gets a little bit interesting if by Labor Day, let's just say he doesn't have a deal done. And that's why I also fully anticipate him getting a deal done, because I could see a guy like Trevor being like, listen, who cares, man? Let's just get it done. Like, okay, they only want to give me 52 instead of 53. What? I want this done. Like, because that's where the player, I think, does come into play. Like, your agent and everybody else taking care of business, that's fine. But the player at some point can be like, I do not want this hanging over my head. Let's go.
True, but also keep in mind, I mean, the agent's job is to make their client happy, yes. But the agent has a reputation, too, to be like, because this deal will then set the precedent for other deals down the line, possibly with that agent. Right, so the agent's job is to try to get as much money as possible because, well, they kind of have a reputation to protect as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but at the end of the day, Trevor's going to win out. Like, if we're talking $1 million here, $1 million there difference, I think that the peace of mind and getting, that weight off your shoulders could be worth $1 million every year.
Mr. Hugo jumps in, by the way, and we have seen this. We're actually going to have Kevin Sullivan on a little bit later in the show to talk about this. This is a complicated but historic ruling in high school sports that just happened. So we'll get some more information throughout the show on it. But the FHSAA has approved unanimously NIL deals, which There's a lot of they had a meeting this morning. There was a lot of conversation. There's a lot of back and forth the last couple of weeks. I don't understand why they even had a conversation. I mean, you knew this. If it was unanimous, then why do we even vote? I mean, why were we even debating it? They obviously had this thing done before it even entered. What does it mean for high school sports? That's a deeper dive, right? And should it be happening? That's a deeper dive. So we'll get into that in just a little bit. But I want to collect, since it's happening right now, I haven't been able to see everything on it. So I just don't want to speak out of turn. And again, we'll have Kevin Sullivan hopefully join us, who ironically is at Jags OTAs today. It's not open to the media, but sometimes they'll let some coaches in and former coaches. He's going there. And then he'll join us to actually talk about his new show coming up here on the network, but also this NIL deal and what it means, because it's a monumental day, obviously, in high school sports. When it comes to name, image, likeness, it is now not just a college thing. Mm-hmm. It's a high school thing as well. I want to stay on Trevor Lawrence a little bit, and we've got some more reaction from yesterday. Obviously, that's all the conversation about the contract, and there's been plenty of it. What about improvement in the offseason? This is a guy that's going into year 3 in this system, year 4 of his career. There's a lot that goes into that. Some offseason improvement from Trevor Lawrence, Rob, if you don't mind.
I mean, I think we've gotten a lot better. Just the way, the tempo, the intensity that we've had in OTAs has been definitely a step up of the past couple years. I know that was the point of emphasis for us, is to really take advantage of this time that we get. Because come training camp, you want to feel like you're on your way to being a well-oiled machine. Obviously, you have work to do, but you want to use this time, maximize it. So when you get to training camp, you feel like you're a step ahead of where we were last year, even just other teams around the league. You want to try to get every advantage you can, and I think taking advantage of these practices is important.
Get to Trevor on Brian Thomas Jr. in just a moment, but before, just a quick thought on that. I think this is what I thought about when I heard that soundbite earlier or yesterday. I always am interested that I think the sports world works different than our business world in a lot of ways. Because I think we just keep moving, right? In business especially, right? We just keep moving. We keep moving. Like we're trying stuff new. We try to stay rejuvenated. We try to stay passionate about it. We're on to the next thing. They throw more stuff on our plate. Like you're just always moving, right? I think that's a little bit different in the professional sports world, in Trevor's world. I mean, football's still football. The calendar, at least as of now, is still the calendar. Like they're not all of a sudden asking you to play baseball and football, right? Like there's not those kind of things. So in the business world, outside of statistical metrics, do we know we're better than we were last year? Like, do I have any idea that I've grown from last May and June?
I would say so, yes. Like, I mean, as a team, like, I say you have from the players that you brought in, yes. Like, you're a better team than last year.
Yeah,
I think
the football team is.
Yeah,
I'm asking you in the business world. Do I know that I'm I don't think about that at all. That's what I'm getting to.
Yeah,
I can sit here in my life and I don't think about, hey, I'm much better or we're much. Well, on occasion I'll drop back and think about it, but more of a broader picture, right? I'll even think about it 3 months ago, like where we were with the new network compared to right now. Like I'll do that a lot probably in the next few weeks.
I mean, we may not personally know it, but we know it based off of the perception around us.
Yeah, maybe that's good. You get that kind of feedback feel.
Correct.
So that soundbite that he's like, yeah, we're going up tempo more. Like we have a better pace to our practice. Like it's noticeably different. Yeah. I just think it's interesting that he can feel that and notice that. And I wonder if that's more an individual thing. Does that say more about the team? Now, he said about the team. I'm just saying, is that an individual thing because he's more comfortable? Or is that something that, hey, Doug's system, we know what to expect. We got veteran guys that have been in it, like guys that are playing with a chip now compared to last year. Like, what does that say? I don't know.
I mean, yeah, it's hard to judge based off that, but like one would assume that he is more comfortable now in a system. I mean, especially like, for instance, with defensive ends, it takes a couple years to get acclimated. With quarterbacks, there's really no telling how long it takes. I think some quarterbacks can come in right away and do the dang thing. I think some quarterbacks, given their situations, the players around them, it takes a couple of years. So maybe he has found, kind of another year of just having to go through trial and error, but now he's a lot more confident in what he can do. But also, we've heard echoes, we've heard people say, like, it could be a more simplified playbook this year on offense.
Yeah.
Right? And if that's the case, if it's more simplified, you're not thinking so much. Well, not thinking so much equals playing faster, playing looser. So maybe there's a combination of that as well.
Well, from his perspective, too, maybe some of this has to do with ownership of the offense. I'll get to Brian Thomas in a moment, Rob, but let's go, if you can, get to the owning the offense, because this is what he has to do. Like, it's got to be his offense. We talked about this, and I actually think this is one of my favorite conversations we've had. Like, where do you go from this is Doug Peterson's offense to this is Press Taylor's offense last year to this is obviously a collaboration. We all know that. They're going to say that, Mike McCoy, everybody, to know this is Trevor's offense, right? And owning that offense and knowing the ins and outs of it, knowing the whys of it, knowing what I like, don't like, being able to tell Doug, who's got a Super Bowl trophy, and it's his offense, no, man, I don't like that.
Yeah.
That's harder than you think it is, maybe, right? I mean, you got to tell your boss, no, this doesn't fit well. You have to be comfortable to be able to do that.
Correct.
And I think that is what he now believes is happening here in Jacksonville. Here's Trevor Lawrence on owning the offense.
I think another year in the system, just owning it more and more every year. And I feel like this year especially I've been able to express more of things that I like, want to do more of, maybe things I don't like or whatever it is, and been able to communicate a lot with the coaches, which has been great. So I think just owning the offense more and more every year is the key, and it's going to help me get better and have a really good grasp of what we're doing, what we're trying to do, the things that we need to improve on. I feel like I'm really in sync with the staff and kind of what the goals are and what we wanted to accomplish this offseason. And then going into training camp, obviously it's going to be, another list of things. But no, I feel really good, and that's the goal, is to get better every year. So I feel like, yes, I'll get better this year, and I'm excited for it.
See, like what he's saying there to me, that in sync nature of the staff, I love that word, because I think of Travis Kelce and Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, and I just can't get out of that phrasing when I think about those guys, when I watch those guys. They are so on the same page, right? Will we see that here in Jacksonville soon enough this year? When does that take place? How long does that take place? That is not an overnight thing. Whether you want it to be or not, that's not an overnight thing. That's a maturation, and time has to help that, right? That's the only thing that can really help, that time and reps and everything else. But I like that phrasing from Trevor Lawrence. And by the way, when it comes to this is the CEO part. This is what we say about franchise quarterbacks. This is why he's going to get paid $50 whatever million a year. Yeah. Because that's the CEO part of this.
Do we know what the question was with that answer? Like, I wasn't. You weren't there either. But.
Well, I listened to the whole thing, so I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was something to the effect of year 3 in the system of Doug. What's the benefit type deal?
Okay. Because here's where I'm going with it. Obviously, a big storyline in this off season and going to training camp is going to be the fact of who's calling the plays, right? And when is that going to be announced and everything? And we sat here and talked about how when Trevor Lawrence essentially defended Press Taylor, was that more of just a quarterback having his offensive coordinator's back, or was that really Trevor saying, I don't want Doug Peterson to call the plays, I want Press Taylor to call the plays? Because that's the way that it came across. But once again, do you take it as he's defending his guy, or that's truly how he feels? Now, I can sit here and say, I think it's more beneficial for Doug Peterson to call the plays. I think you agree with me. I think a lot of people in the city would agree with me. But hearing Trevor talk about just the consistency, hearing Trevor talk about just, it's like, listen, I get we're all creatures of habit, and I think like you get kind of in this like habit of, you're accustomed to a certain thing, and obviously that could be Press Taylor's voice. Hearing him talk in that little soundbite right there leads me to believe more that Trevor wasn't just giving, having his offensive coordinator's back and Press Taylor. It leads me to believe that I think Trevor Lawrence actually wants Press Taylor to be in his headset, because that's what he's been accustomed to. And that's just been kind of the creature of habit that he's had to deal with. And I think he wants that consistency. No, it's one soundbite, but that's what I gauge from that soundbite.
Yeah, that's interesting, Reed. I didn't go there, but I don't mind it. In fact, I might need to listen to that again a little bit later in the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's I didn't go there at all. I didn't even think about play calling. But that's maybe that is the thought. Listen, I think he's a pretty genuine guy, right? I don't think he gets up there and BS's a lot of people. I think he's pretty honest and says he's honest, and then he also says, I can't say everything, and I think he has a very nice balance of that. So when he said that he assumes Press is going to be the guy, I believed him. Like, I don't think that was protecting his guy. I think it was more, we're just getting back in the building. We haven't even had those kind of conversations. I really think, and now we can debate whether we can be critical about this if you want, but I don't think that was even a conversation Doug's even had with those guys yet. Because I think Doug is still uncertain about it. And again, this is back in like early April that I'm talking about when he talked about it in the past. So they were just getting back in the building. Remember, there's not a lot of conversation and things that can go on, right, in those months leading up. So, I didn't look at it that he was protecting Press. I get what you're saying. He might have been. He might have been. He's smart enough to do it. But I also didn't really interpret it that way. But I think you bring up something that's kind of fascinating. I can think Doug's better for the job. Shad Khan can think he's better for the job. You can think he's better than the job. Y'all can hate Press Taylor for calling plays, whatever you want to do, however you want to, whatever angle you want to take here. But if that young man at number 16 says, listen, I like it. Yeah. Like, that's the guy. I mean, that's the guy. Like, it really doesn't matter what the rest of us think. And even Doug might say, hey, if this is what you want, this is what you want.
Correct.
So,
and I agree here. And I also think that if Doug Peterson wants to call, like, if it's really a thing and he feels like they're the better team if he's calling the plays. And now, once again, we have our own opinion about it, right? But I'm speaking from Doug's side. If Doug thought that they're a far better team with him calling the plays, he would have made the announcement last year. You know, like, I get there was other things going on, but come on. The whole point of being an NFL coach is to win ball games.
Yeah.
You know, it's a performance-based business. If you don't win, you get canned. It's simple as that. So I think that if Doug truly felt that this team was in better hands, this team could win a lot more games if he called the plays, then he would already call the plays.
Yeah.
I get there's maybe some other fires here or there, but winning is the most important thing. So once again, it does lead me to believe, and you put more faith in Trevor in his comments than I did, because I thought it was just a quarterback sticking up for his coordinator.
Yeah.
You know, but now, like, looking more into it, I guess I wouldn't be surprised now if Press Taylor's calling plays this season.